Welcome to Geeks Like Us, week number 15. This week, we've got, I think, a total of 9 comics that we're going to review, so let's jump right into it. We're going to start with Voltron, Defender of the Universe.
Have you no shame, no chin?
No, a Legend Forged number 1 from DDP.
Yep. I'm just going to say from the start, I'm probably going to get, like, email rocks thrown at me for this or something, but I have no relevant knowledge of Voltron. I remember tiny snippets when my brain was...
of Voltron. I have no relevant knowledge.
You should. That'd be awesome.
I had tiny snippets of memory, vaguely, of the cartoon show. I was a little snapper. And I never went back to try and see anything. So, I mean, I've got... Other than just reading this comic as a completely and totally unbiased person, I have really nothing to contribute to the lore, the Voltron lore that these two are going to go.
Well, as a person who grew up, and I watched Voltron as a child, I can't remember a darn thing
He
about
watched
the show.
Voltron when he was like 26.
You remember the heroes, you remember the villains, and that's
No,
about
I
it.
remember they were lions, and you formed them all together, and that was it.
The sword.
It was the
I
basis
don't
for
remember
through the
any
villain.
of the people. No, I don't remember any of the
the
shows.
basis for the Power Rangers.
Well,
which I
all the
did
endings
not
were the
care
same.
about.
They formed the sword, and then they cut the villain in half, and they exploded, and that was it.
That's how.
That was the end of every episode.
That's how.
Wait a minute, you like the episodes better than this book?
That's
Yeah,
how
oh
all
my
these.
God.
That's how all these old shows
No.
work. They
That's
always
how
end the
that's how
same
they all
way.
work.
I know, but this book was not as bad as what you're describing.
No, this had a completely different ending.
No, okay.
This is not over yet.
The sword wasn't even in it.
It's one of those things where if you're a diehard Voltron fan, like, the show is amazing, and if they ever mess with the show, I'm gonna kill somebody. You might not like the book.
Because you can't use a comic book for excuses, murder.
If you like the Voltron aspect and the idea of it, and you remember the show, and you're like, oh, that's pretty cool, you might like this, because it does some things that you don't really remember from the show, like villains and heroes kind of interacting. How they would interact together in this comic is very different than how they interact with the TV show, even though the situation is how it is.
You were saying that you think the villain, and I don't remember his name,
I don't either. Doesn't matter.
but the villain, you're saying that he should have immediately tried to kill all the
Yeah,
heroes
he
on site,
hated
even
them.
though they're
He
trapped,
hated
what,
them.
1,200 years in the past?
Yes.
And he may need them
Yeah,
to get back to his
so
own
he-
time
in
period?
my-
Since they're in the past, the villains looked at like some devil, and the other Voltron guys, since their things aren't working in the past, they become knights, and they assemble their horses into this big thing. And
Wow. Or not.
I'm going to read something with big robots in it.
Transform. God.
Let's go by.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, I love the robots. Anyway, no, it's one of those things where, I mean, it was good. It was like, oh, this character, I remember him from TV show, and I remember how his voice sounded and that kind of stuff. But
See, I didn't know any
Oh,
of that, but I like
oh,
the
really?
story.
Okay.
I think for some of the hardcore science fiction buffs that really like Voltron, they're not going to like it because
Yeah.
time travel stories typically
Screw things up.
have such a negative response. I don't know why, because I love them.
yeah, well, and it might be one of those things too where, you know, this happens not inside the show because I don't ever remember this happening, but it happens. Something in the past makes an event in the TV show happen, and everybody would be like, oh, okay, I see, that's cool how they did it. The cool telling of the story that you never knew before.
The big curiosity for
something.
me after hearing you guys talk about it and seeing the inside is the cover. Because
Yeah.
on the cover, you know, it's like...
Oh,
there's
one
like-
of the covers.
well,
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the covers. I picked, I'm like, Voltron. Apparently this is Voltron, whatever. You get inside Voltron, obviously, and most of you know, is the big robot.
Mm-hmm.
On the cover, you see this heavy metal-clad knight-looking dude with the sword held down. It's not a robot. It looks very much like it is a dude in a big suit of
Yeah.
armor.
And I think they're probably going to reference that in, like, issues 2 or 3 or whatever.
Legend 4.
Because
One can only hope.
yeah, because I'm thinking, like I said, my speculation is that as far as they go back in time, like 1,200 years or something, maybe, like, oh gosh, how far back did they say they go?
I think 1,200.
1,200 years?
So,
Going back to 1994.
yeah.
It didn't say that.
Not in this one.
Get back to
If
1985.
I can get back to 1985.
Gotta get that lion up to 88 miles an hour.
No, the
Oh,
horse.
God.
Oh, a horse.
The only thing I can think of is maybe, like, at some point in time, they all go back in time far enough, they get knighted, and then that's what this outfit's referencing.
I've got to know, in the comic book they referenced 2 different Voltrons. Was there 2 in the show? 2 different
Different
Voltrons?
The only thing from the show that I remember is, I mean, there was, like, you know, the lions and stuff, and then I was talking with Eric the other day, and he said, like, later on, they weren't lions, they were more vehicles. Like, they were cars or something.
Yeah.
See, I'm wondering if this just doesn't start the whole Voltron throughout the centuries.
It might.
I
don't know.
do recall our good buddy Hayes earlier today saying something. When I was telling him that we read this, and he was asking me, "No, was it this team? Was it this year?" You know, and so again, not having any real knowledge, that led me to believe that yes, there are multiple.
I just
Voltron Squad.
I just remembered that one of the characters changed in the TV show because the other one died or something like that, and that's when the princess came in, who's in this comic. But
fair enough.
whatever.
So
Anyway.
if you like Voltron, give this book a chance, and we'll wrap that up. We'll be back with another review soon.